Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRMFM, and I am joined by my muse and good friend, Michael J. Russ. And Michael, I want to welcome you to the show today, and I'm just so grateful for all your caring and support and for all that you do and all that you bring to the show. So I just want to say
it's appreciated on both sides, believe me. We use
thank
it up.
you.
What can I say?
Thank you. So I don't know if you know this about me. You know many, many things about me, but I am a huge Dr. Seuss fan, both in his whimsical illustrations and his art and also the words that he wrote. And there was a quote by him that he wrote, "Sometimes you never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory." And I started thinking about those words because I had a reunion this past weekend, and it was a class reunion from people from high school. And I have to tell you that there have been so many thoughts that have been traveling through this wandering head of mine, wondering and wandering, that I do. And I started to think about the connections that we make and why, in a union, gathering of people, where you form something from separate individuals, your separate students gather together in this time and space, how it comes that we want to come back together. We gather with those members of that group that we've been separated from all those years. And there's something to be said for that reuniting. I went to my class reunion. I was late, unfortunately, due to dog duties. I'm always sometimes the dogs are not always the most predictable and the best laid plans. Sometimes have to be changed a little bit because of what's going on with my rescue dogs. So I was about an hour late, but when I walked in, I had two old school friends that I hadn't seen in a very long time that greeted me with absolutely beautiful smiles, and they said, "You're late. You're the last one here." They were kind enough to direct me where to go and get my name tag and a free drink ticket and whatnot. I didn't take advantage of the drink ticket because I don't drink alcohol, but I certainly enjoyed a conversation with them. And it was really nice to see them, not just to sort of hear where we've gone and where our paths have wandered over the many years. Our high school class motto was "Along the Road," and I thought, geez, isn't that interesting? We chose that many, many years ago to sort of be the theme for the year, and how a road travels. And, it doesn't always go in a straight line. Sometimes it's the road less traveled that makes things most interesting. I had in that reunion, a friend traveled all the way from Switzerland. He was our foreign exchange student. Martin is just an absolute delight, and he grabbed me and gave me a wonderful big hug and how he's doing. And he's another dog person. He and his wife have a beautiful shepherd that they love deeply and dearly. And I thought, wow, it's been 10 years since I saw you since the last reunion, and different dogs and different things that pass through your minds. And another person came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh," and literally carried me away and said, "This group of people want to see you." And everybody said, "You haven't changed, you haven't changed." And then at the very end of the evening, I went to say goodbye to one of the girls that had greeted me at the door, and her husband was there. And he said probably the kindest thing that anybody has said to me in a very long time. And he said, "Oh, Lisa," he said, "it's so wonderful to see you." He said, "I have to say two things. One, you had the best pool parties," which I heard a lot from a lot of people. They said, "You had the best pool parties." And secondly, that I was one of the nicest people that he could remember. He said, "One thing I remember about you, you were nice to everybody. You were nice to, it didn't matter what group of people." And that was how I would have described myself. I was friends with everybody in the, in my graduating class, and it was so sweet because here we are all at different parts of our lives, being reunited but still connected by a common thread. And so as I was thinking about it, I thought, we really grew up together. You start in this school at ninth grade, and some people come in and out, but you're sort of in an awkward phase. You're kind of going through some growing pains. You're finding out who you are, discovering. You're kind of stepping away from your parents' values a little bit, testing the waters. And then by the time you're a senior, you're ready to spread your wings and do something different. But I think when we all kind of gathered back together, it really didn't seem like that much time and space had disappeared. Had disappeared. Those many years had, I don't know, they just seemed to be like just yesterday. It doesn't feel that far away because all of these people that I reconnected with still have the same beautiful hearts. I can't tell you how many individuals that have now at this point in their lives either taken an early retirement to take care of their parents or moved back into their home to care for an elderly parent. And I thought, wow, that's really amazing. It really is. And I know you have a special relationship with your mother. I'm curious, Michael, have you reunited with anybody in the past from your school days and really kept in touch with anybody and have those deep connections?
The two people I probably had the deepest connections with, three people, have passed away already. Interestingly enough, that's okay. It's just so it's always an opportunity for you to reflect and understand what really is deeply important in life. The relationships, I mean, I have to tell you, from 6th through 12th grade, I went to 4 different schools. I went to 3 different high schools, so in 3 different parts of the world. And so my connections, and I learned, and that was not that was 4 high schools, but I went to a different school every 2 years from the moment I was born. So it's or the moment I started to go to school, I should say. And so I learned a couple of things. I learned how to make friends and make connections very quickly with people. I learned who to stay away from, who the bad seeds were, so to speak. And the school I ended up graduating from in California there was that school, and there was a school in Izmir, Turkey, where I went to 2 years of high school with, and I went to 1 year in upstate New York. And the one from Izmir, Turkey, the American high school over there, where we had between kindergarten and 12th grade, there were 365 students in that range. So, I mean, graduating class was 4 people, 5 people, seniors, every year. That pretty much was about as big as that school was. However, I've stayed more connected with those people than the people in that series, that school we went to, more than any other, because of the fact that there was a special bond created from, we were living on the economy, and we were living in the city. So we all of our parents had apartments, and we had to walk through the city, from our apartments to the city, to go to high school or to go to the teen club or to go to the commissary to shop, or the cafe or the bowling alley, the American bowling alley they had there, or to do whatever, to the American hotel. The U.S. military had a hotel there, for which is where you stayed when you arrived, before you got your things arrived, your goods, by ship, by container. It would be a month or 2 before they would arrive, and you would stay in the hotel, and you'd get an apartment, and then you'd all move out of the hotel into the apartment, and it was standard operating procedure. You'd repeat it on the way out. You would pack up all your things, and you'd stay in the hotel until you left. So as a matter of fact, I think the first week of November, I'm going to go see someone I haven't seen. We've seen a couple of times in the last 10, 12 years. They used to live in New York City, up in Sag Harbor, and now they live in South Carolina. And it was my girlfriend's best friend and her husband, and we'll probably have a couple of people that we palled around with together in Turkey when we come and meet us there. But I actually went into business with one gentleman from who I went to high school with up in upstate New York. We had a custom made-to-measure suit business that I helped him start about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I helped him start that business.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I learned something new about you all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I sold my share back to him in his business because he was doing all the work, and he needed to get a start, right, financially. So I helped him, and it was really it was a joy to be able to assist him. That was one of the great joys in my life, to give him an opportunity to make a living in something that he is very good at. And so we've had three reunions. The first reunion is where I met my girlfriend, who I dated back at that high school in '72. I met her at the second reunion we had in Las Vegas. I reunited with her again, and then that kind of sparked another. That was 22 years ago now, which was really wonderful. And the amazing things can happen when you
it is.
People, we were in a band, and people remembered that, and the connections, the longest connections are from Turkey. And it's interesting because 3 weeks ago I was standing in front of that apartment building again. We'd gone back over there, and I'd gotten an opportunity to see where I lived again, and Sandy got an opportunity to see where she lived again, and how the neighborhood had changed, how the city had changed. The military is no longer there, the high school is no longer there, none of it's no longer there.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, NATO shut down over there back in, I think it was 2010, 2012. They shut everything down. All the families were gone. They no longer saw the need for a high school there or a military presence, a NATO presence, until the Ukraine situation, evidently. But it's interesting that whenever there is a Facebook page for Izmir High School and all that, which I'm not really big into social media, and people say, "What was the best part of your life?" Right now. It's not, I don't live in the past. I don't reminisce about. I have great memories.
I don't either.
I've forgotten. I like to tell people, I've forgotten more experiences than most people have actually lived in their life, because they've been in the same city for so long. I've traveled everywhere. I've done a lot of things, met a lot of people, and that was what my parents wanted to expose us to, was the world. As an African American family, my dad got out of Florida and never looked back. He got out of Florida, went to Tuskegee, got into the ROTC, got in the military. And you saw the military as his way out of cabbage farming in hot Central Florida. And he and his family was incredibly poor. And so he got good grades, went to Tuskegee, and went into ROTC, and became a second lieutenant on graduation, and never looked back. Married my mother, and they, were all over the world. And I think we went back to Florida 3 times in 22 and a half years that he was in the military. It was just one of these things, I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I have so many experiences in shoved away in the drawers of my mind, that on occasion when I smell something or see something or experience something similar, they pop out, and I go, yeah, I remember that. I had that. That feeling comes rushing back to you. The beauty of, I can tell you one of the best things we did when we went to New York City about 8 years ago. We went to New York City, Sandy and I, and we had arranged there's a Turkish restaurant up on the Upper West Side that we always go to, called Pasha. And every time I'm in New York City, I stay up in the Upper West Side, and between 70th and 73rd, and we always go to this restaurant to eat Turkish food and reminisce and drink Turkish wine and have a great time. But this time we had 9 people join us. Actually, 10 people. There were 10 of us. a couple from Boston. We went to high school with him in Turkey. We had the couple from Sag Harbor. They came down. They had a place in the city. We met together, my girlfriend and I, and then my best friend, and then another couple. It was sort of a surprise. The people from Boston the guy from Boston, Hector. It was a real big surprise. We didn't know he was coming, and we're sitting there, kind of getting ready to, sit down and eat, and here he comes walking in, and it was Old Home Week. Heck, we closed the restaurant. We closed it. They were begging us to leave at 11:30. I said, we gotta send our people home now. We were like, God, really? The time just flew by. We sat back at a table, we ate dishes, we talked and reminisced about everything, and that was really the reunion that that's what I remember. When I want a reunion with people, that's what we'll do. So we're going to go see them up in South Carolina, and hopefully about the second week of November, we'll go up there and hang out with them for a little while, hang out with their best friend, and perhaps have another couple people come down. We stay in touch, though. We stay in touch through text, and even though our paths don't cross because everybody's still working and doing things, they let us know when they're going to be various places, and if it's possible for us to be there, we'll be there. If not, we don't really travel together. We don't feel the need to travel together. We just stay in contact. Everybody's got their own thing that they're doing, their own home life, their own kids. However, we have a special bond from being in a place for a few years that was incredibly unique, and I always treasure that. I treasure that more than any other place that we've been. And the number of elementary schools I went to, I couldn't tell you one person that I met. It was just you leave one, you go to another. You leave one, you go to another. And the experiences were great. Made great connections with people. Had fun. Pick up softball, pick up basketball, pick up football, flag or otherwise, or tackle, or whatever it was. You enjoy yourself as a kid. You learn to enjoy where you were and who you were with. And then when it was over, it was over. And you left and you went to a new place, you made new friends, and you had new experiences. And I don't regret leaving any place and going to another place. However, I do know some people I've come across who do. They're like, oh, it was like a downer after that. I'm like, wow, really?
Oh, well, yeah. No, and
you gotta be kidding me.
I think you hit the nail on the head, because there are individuals that want to be back in that space. For me, anyway, I think when you go and it's your first day of anything new, there's a fear that's there, and so you find bonds and you find community. But then when your time is done with that, you move on, and you're ready to move on, and you're ready to welcome in new experiences. But some individuals are not quite in that same space, and I think when you're in high school or actually you brought up a good point, like military, if you are in a basic training unit, you are building a common bond with those people. You're experiencing things that nobody else will ever understand. It was just that time and space. But then once you're done with basic training, you get your assignments, and some people will be trained in other things and go on to more advanced things. But you always have those connections. You always have that thing that ties you in, and I think that's why when you come back, and I don't know, it's sort of funny. Time is an equalizer, I guess, because when you first start, you have there's some kids that are more awkward than others. There's some kids that are better at sports, some that are better at academics, but really it's a learning process, and I think that and it is a little bit more difficult for kids in school today, but if we just accept and embrace and share the love that's in our hearts and really love ourselves, I think that that's how we can change the world. And when you go back to these reunions, everybody's gotten older, everybody's changed, everybody's had different life experiences, but you can kind of come back and you have your thoughts and your fond memories, and I think it fills your heart. I can only tell you that when this individual, and I want to just say thank you to Tom for seeing me, because I was pretty quiet and was friends with everybody, but I didn't really always know if people saw who I was. And for somebody to say that to me, and not only just say it once, he actually repeated it, I got very emotional. It was so kind of him to make the time at the end of the evening to say that to me. And it really did.
Because, you never know how you're impacting other people unless they tell you. You know you have love in your heart and kindness, and however, you really don't know unless they say something. You don't know how you're impacting them. And it's wonderful when they are aware enough and awake enough in their own understanding of how they fit into the universe to be able to walk over to you and say something so lovely, something that is so validating, because maybe we all think that we have a perception of ourselves, yet we don't dwell on it. However, there are some things that we don't know how we're impacting others. I love it when someone comes over and tells me, something about myself, like the bartender who I just met in San Juan, Puerto Rico, telling me, "Did you know you smile after you say everything?" And I'm going like, "Wow, okay." So that's been a focus. It's been on my mind ever since last Christmas. When I met him, you don't know how you're impacting other people. You don't know how your demeanor, how your energy field is impacting other people. But I love when you get the validation. And I know how you feel, how you felt when that happened, because it's our goal, yours and mine, to impact people in a positive way. That's why we have this podcast. This is what we love doing, and we hope that we're doing just that. And the only way we know it is when somebody says, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. I love it, and it really touched me, and it was very timely." And you're going, "Okay, validation. We're doing the right thing. Whatever topics that are being given to us by powers greater than us, we're succeeding. We're actually touching hearts and minds of people, which is really spectacular." I have to go back to something that you said though about promoting connection, especially when it's in school. Nowadays, and it was interesting because I have a text thread with my brother and sister and one other person who my brother used to work with in the business, and we talk every day on this text thread. We have different topics and things that we put through, and today it was kind of about a kind of about connection in the digital world, how things have gotten awry, how kids aren't given the opportunity to connect, how somehow school has become this. Now, we got teachers that listen to this program, and some of them have told me that it's about lessons and planning and grades, and the connection that you would otherwise foster when you're not in class is being spent on the phones with imaginary people. It's like. So you've got these imaginary individuals, and one teacher told me you cannot stop kids from having cell phones, their phones in class. So if they're not listening to the teacher and they're not connecting with someone sitting next to them, they're on their phones connecting with somebody in a virtual world. And the one thing that is being lost more than anything else is that time you would otherwise use in the hallways, during events, the time you're not in class, and there's a lot of that outdoors, connecting with and meeting people, having a pickup game of basketball during PE, or having this occur during this downtime, or at lunch, connecting with people. There's a whole virtual world that youth are connecting with, and it's not eye to eye. It's imaginary. And that imaginary world, unless there's something nefarious about it, what it doesn't do is it doesn't connect with you in a way that in the future can validate the person you are today. and the person that you see yourself, it's the person you see yourself as today. I mean, we had no other, when we grew up, there was no other way to connect with people other than make a friend.
I know.
Made a friend.
You're right. We had a shared locker. We had a shared locker, and then you were really good friends with the people who had lockers next to you because you'd be bumping into each other all the time.
Right.
And
they'd be putting things up in their locker. You could be talking about it. You had things to talk
what was
about.
your last class? Where are you going now? What time do you have lunch today? All of those other things.
Yeah.
I will tell you, they had I didn't do it because I'm not like you. I'm not really very present on the social media, but they had a tour of the high school. I could have gone if I would have paid attention to my social media, but I didn't. And when I was asking people, well, they said you wouldn't even recognize the high school. It has an Olympic-sized pool now. I'm like, where did they put that? I couldn't even imagine. But they said that in all of the classrooms, they kind of did away with the lockers. But when you walk in, there's like a thing that hangs on the side, and students have to put their cell phones in these little pockets, and then they can collect them at the end of class. So I thought that was at least really
that's nice.
A positive thing. Yeah, it really is.
Because how are you going to be able to pay attention and understand anything that's going on? And nowadays you have access to the world, not just what's going on in your own town. You have access to everything in the world, and what's going on in the world instantaneously is put before you. I think about this when it comes to feelings in life, and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your place in the world. In my view, it's important for youth to develop a positive concept of self, which is a challenge when you have the world out there and all the negative that's presented with it that happens in the world being put front and center in front of you on your device in a second. It's a challenge. I think I know you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what happens. When it happens over there, it's on your phone. It's instantaneous. News travels in milliseconds from some other part of the world. But it's becoming. Somebody said the other day, and I can't remember who this was, that their sense of life isn't good because there's so much bad out there that they're convinced they have to care about. And I said, wow, that's interesting. They can't enjoy their life because other people somewhere in the world aren't enjoying theirs. And I'm going, that is it's an interesting concept. How do you ethically deal with that? I know how I deal with it, and I know what I told this particular man who gave me this. He was like, he's going to be 40 pretty soon, and he told me this. I said, "You've got to be kidding, right? You cannot feel good about yourself and your life right now in your own home because of other things that are going on in the world. There's so much strife. There's politics. There's wars. There's this. There's that." And I said, very simply, that isn't something you have control over. We have to spend our time and our lives controlling what we have control over, and that's us, our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions, what we're putting out to the world. And I simply said, if we can get more people putting out positive vibes than negative vibes because of what they're focused on, positive vibes, great sense of self, love, kindness, compassion, empathy, all that, then we can put that out. If we can live that ourselves, and gratitude and forgiveness, we can live that ourselves, then we are going to have a positive impact on the rest of the world. We can't stop what's going on somewhere else. And it's a loss. It's a sense of this particular guy said he had a sense of loss of control. If that makes sense. He said he lacked control. He lacked control over what was going on. I said, of course you can't control what's going on. It's been going on forever. I was in the Philippines during the Vietnam War. Pilots came in, pilots came back. Pilots flew out and didn't come back. It's just you deal with the situation surrounding that conflict, that war, or anything else that's going on in the world.
Yeah, you take it back to the Dr. Seuss quote. Sometimes you never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory, because those things do become memories.
Right.
And Michael, I think, there's so much when you and I come together and we speak about this a lot. It has to do with choice. Choice is really the cornerstone of all of our experiences. Whatever we are creating through our thoughts, our feelings, whatever our perspectives are or perceptions, how we perceive something, it really allows us to, when we do that pivot, and you speak about this all the time, when we pivot on a situation and say, no, I am consciously making a choice and step forward into joy, or step forward into love and appreciate and reflect, even though, yes, I do see that this is going on at this moment, but for me to emanate love, which I truly believe is one of the highest vibrations, along with joy.
Right.
And that I want to be happy no matter what the circumstances, what the beliefs of other people are, no matter, what their habits are, whatever it is, if it's the opposite of positive in my perspective, we are here, we have that choice. And
right.
It doesn't diminish anything that's going on, but really for us to emerge into a different timeline where we can manifest whatever it is that we want, including a planet filled with peace, I really do believe that we need to make that choice. And
right.
You and I, you are a master at it, and I try to be a master at it. I try to be conscious all the time, as I really do want to live in a world filled with harmony and joy and beauty, and I think that's all part of who we are and our nature. That's who I am. I love to be peaceful.
I truly believe you are as well. A misnomer in my view is that people are so caught up in or inundated by world events that are way, way out of their wheelhouse of being able to control that they minimize their own contribution to the moment. That what you're thinking, what you're putting out there to the person next to you is just as important as hoping that peace will reign in the world everywhere. It begins with this little step. It's this little step that you're making, and everybody individually makes that step, but it does comprise the whole. It sends energies out into to the universe, as wonderful Carol was talking about. We talked about a couple of shows ago, the thought bubbles. We have to put those positive thought bubbles out there. We have to continue to think positive thoughts, to think along the lines of love and compassion and joy and happiness. We have to, and we have to make moves on a daily basis in our lives, moment to moment, that continue to promote those within us, promote love, promote happiness, promote joy. And when we find our minds being invaded by something going on, something negative going on somewhere in the country or the world, that the media wants you to adopt as your number one thought for that moment, we have to repel that thinking, those thoughts, with that information. We have to repel it. We're not going to help the person who's been taken by or killed by the serial killer. We're not going to be able to 5,000 miles away or on the other side of the world, be able to find someone who's been taken. What we can do is we can, in our own communities, put out the kind of vibe that is based in love, that is based in hope and positivity, hopeful expectation, as the teachers call it, hopeful expectation. Put it out there. Have this hopeful expectation that things will right, the ship will right itself, right? And we're all going to do our individual parts. We're each going to take a step in the right direction every day to foster that ourselves, and that's all we can do. That's all I can do. I'm not about to shoulder the problems of the world. That's not my job. My job as a human being, as a human soul, is to promote love and promote happiness within myself, and then project that to others. That's
right.
That's what I do. And if we can all kind of break it down that simply, then, and we can teach our youth to do that, and not to be to think it's this is right and that's wrong, or this thinking is right and that thinking is wrong. Well, we just say, it's all thinking. There should be a clear set of facts, of course. However, you have the right to think one way or the other. But let's come at this from a perspective of love, not hate or division. Let's come at it from a perspective of if we lived next door to that particular person, what would we do? Would we enjoy life on the same street, or would we build a wall between the two of us because they thought differently than us, or we didn't like something they said, or we didn't like something they believed? Being here in the South.
When you said that, it made me think of even high school, right? Because there were, and every high school has their cliques, every high school has their groups, right? There's that division. And I think that's what's really so magnificent about the reunion, because there is something in a reunion of all of these different groups, right? Not all those groups have dissolved. And so it's sort of like the great equalizer. You come back and because I can remember, like, okay, what university are you going to, where are you going? And then you have your graduation ceremony, and then you go on your way. And then you come back, and it's like, okay, what happened on your path? What's happened all of these years to you? And not everybody's journey has been easy. And it just, but when you come back, you're sort of celebrating this magical journey that you've been on since you were last together. And it's just really, there's something that I think, and that's what's so, I felt that connection, I think, because, and it was sort of really empowering, because as everybody has sort of been living their own lives, but you come back and it's like everybody's the same. Everybody's X amount of years older. Everybody either had kids, not had kids, done whatever with whatever they did to the degree. But I think that you're coming back to kind of nurture those parts of you and share memories and laugh, and just to really feel that love that maybe you never even had for one of your other classmates. And
Very
be
true.
like, oh, yeah, and there was a lot of that. Do you remember me? You don't remember me. And I looked at the name tag, and I did remember some people. I didn't always remember the context. Like, it sounds strange, but what kind of who they hung out with and who their friends were, or who they went to prom with. And it was interesting, though, because towards the end of the evening, I ran into somebody who I didn't even know was at the reunion, and when I saw him, his name's Thomas, I had to laugh because he remembered me, but he didn't remember the fact I said, he bought me as a senior, all of the captains, or if you were a president of a club, we were sold at a bonfire as a fundraiser, and that person could make you do whatever for the day. Right, exactly. And I said, I said, you don't remember I was your slave? And he said, no, I don't remember that. He said, and he was with his wife. It just came out of my mouth, right? I wasn't really thinking about it.
You don't remember I was your slave? Oh, my God. What? You were what? That was really interesting.
He and this other gentleman had, he has passed. He's another one of those people who's no longer with us on the planet. But and I said, yeah, you and Mike bought me. I said, don't you remember you made me put these slippers on, and then they put one of that lemon ring game around my ankles. I had that, and then I had oh my gosh, so many ridiculous things. I can't even remember what the signage was. And I had to go to all my classes like that, and then finally I was able to take it off at the end of the day. But, he's like, I don't have any recollection of that. And I'm thinking, how could you forget that?
It's amazing, isn't
but
it?
It is. It is
Cool.
It's so funny.
I just have to say that what came to mind was our high school is a place where we are constantly seeking our identity.
Mm-hmm.
We're discovering who we are, and
yes, absolutely.
As part of that, there's just a lot of it's crazy what you what you think about. It really is. It's just crazy what you thought you did, the person you were, and the thing about coming back in a reunion is you get to see now, in many cases, decades later, the identity that this particular person discovered.
Mm-hmm.
And they can think
that's beautiful.
Yeah, they can think back to when they were in school. Because, I told somebody the other day, I said, you're not the person you were last week because you've now known new information about yourself and about the world or whatever. You've exposed yourself to a myriad of different sources of information that have shifted the way you think. Not only that, but Deepak Chopra will tell you that your body and your cells in your body regenerates so often, every so often, and it's a lot faster than you think. So if you're thinking you were the person last week, I got news for you. You're not. And it's that old Rumi quote, something I do not know, the only which could change everything. And generally every day it does. Every day it changes something about you. And so to come back decades later and see the myriad of changes in people, not only the way they look now, the way they feel now, the decisions and choices, as you said, choice is the cornerstone of your existence, the choices they've made since you last saw them in high school that have led them to be the person they are today and where they are today. It's just fascinating. It's fascinating, and you could just go on and on and on with that concept and how it's just like this huge conundrum of the evolution of us as human beings, as individuals. It's fun to think about, and the fun part for me is that I always remember that I'm in control of that transformation. I'm in control of what I expose myself to. I'm in control of what I eat. I'm in control of what I do with how I treat my body, the way I interact with people around me. It's something that we must always remember, that we are the ones. It's not outside influences and sources that control us. It's us controlling our exposure to it and how it impacts us. That's the sovereignty of human life. And I hammer that home a lot because it's easy to forget with the plethora of information that is out there that impacts us on a daily basis, that we are exposed to willingly or unwillingly. It does have an impact if we allow it to have an impact on us. And that's where I've had a lot of fun at the reunions I've gone to. A lot of fun with people.
I have a question, Michael, real quick. I just want to ask you this question. When you went back to your reunion, did you find that more people had self-love or loved themselves a little bit more, not in a narcissistic way, of course, the way we speak about, but actually truly knowing a little bit more about who they were as an individual? Could you feel that? Could you see that? Could you sense
it's interesting that you asked that question, because in my view personally, most people don't think that way. You and I think that way.
Right.
However, when it was the reunion from Turkey, what made it different is how people considered it, how many people considered it the best time in their lives. And I'm like, okay, you're 60 now, and you're telling me that was the best time in your life when you were 14 to 18 years of age? Wow. Okay, we have to go back and talk about this, because it's just, to me, it
every day can be your best day, right?
In some way, those reunions can become a time when you are thinking about, you're reminiscing about how good it was, because you didn't have any responsibilities. You didn't have any kids. You didn't have any house to pay for or cars to pay for. Financials to think about, retirement to think about. You didn't have anything to think about. You were a free spirit, so to speak. Yet, if you ask any high school student whether they're a free spirit, they're going to tell you, no, I've got all these rules and regulations that are, holding me in. My backpack is 80 pounds of books and that I have to remember. I mean, they're in their own little world, and they understand that world is what it is to them, and it's not something that we're going to, because it continues to change and evolve. So we're not going to necessarily be able to identify with it because it's not the world that we grew up. However, what I found people doing was taking the choice bits and pieces of the best of what was of their experience, and that's what shaped their view of that time in their lives. And I think that's what everybody does.
Right.
It at least, I mean, there are some people it was before in high school. Generally, it's before big-time tragedy, unless your parents passed away or your brother or sister passed away. I mean, literally most people, the average student, high school student, unless they experience something very traumatic in their lives, and believe me, the list of traumatic events could go on and on and on, abuse one way or the other. Unless you experience something that was traumatic to you, that hadn't happened yet. In high school, it hadn't happened yet to you. It was all rose-colored glasses, and you had your future to look forward to, and you had your friends, or you played football, or you were a basketball star, or you were a cheerleader, or you were whatever, you were a fan, you were whatever, and a lot of times I found people just simply reminiscing about the fact that was before they had responsibilities, before they had obligations, and they were able to do whatever they wanted to do. It was a time of intense freedom, and the only thing I have to say about that is we have all the freedom that we want now, at whatever age we are. If we don't feel we have the freedom, it's because we have boxed ourselves in. And that's our thinking. The perception is you have no freedom. If you can start cutting things out of your life that don't allow you to have the freedom anytime you want. It's just that maybe you feel you need to or should be doing those things because society says that's what you should do. So to that I say love, compassion, empathy, friendliness, happiness, joy. We can all engage with the day from that perspective and make the day awesome regardless of what happens. Regardless.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I really appreciate that insight. And when you were speaking, Michael, about when people say that it's the best time of life, perhaps it's because also, too, there was maybe a greater sense of union, maybe deeper bonds of friendship. Perhaps the people, once they left that environment, weren't quite sure how to form those deep friendship bonds or make a connection in the same way. Perhaps, there's a lot in that intimate connection of growing pains of growing up that is forever a part of us, and you remember things, challenges, and I think it's just that sort of self-awareness, and you just, I don't know, for me, when I think about it, and I do, my sister, any moment of the day she would go back to high school, she absolutely loved it. I was happy to have that chapter done, and I was looking forward to the next exciting thing that unfolded itself. Now, one of the questions I was asked at the reunion, do you have children? I said, no. I said, quite honestly, I wanted to experience the world. I was selfish. I wanted to be free to, if I wanted to take off somewhere, and I admire all of those individuals that have raised a family and now their children are grown or growing or whatever. It's a commitment, and we all choose, really, I think, the path, I truly believe it's part of our soul's purpose. I think all the time, Michael, how you and I connected, and through just divine synchronicities that led me to where we are and what it is we're meant to do. And I think that you and I haven't even begun to tap that. And I would encourage anybody, any of the people that were at my reunion or any reunion, to acknowledge that for themselves, that every day can become amazing. We live into this world of infinite possibilities, and you can form those same bonds. It's not easy, for sure, now with social media. You have a very good point about that. But you find, right.
Right. So true.
But there is something very nurturing in that reunion of the shared laughter. I mean, there was so much laughter. Oh my goodness, the vibration in that area was supposed to end at 10 p.m. and I didn't leave until after 11. My feet were really sore. It was outside and it was cold, and I was like, oh, I gotta get these shoes off. They were going to continue somewhere else, but I thought, I'm so grateful to have connected to the heartbeats of so many beautiful people, and it truly was. There wasn't any of that. Oh, I want to see what so and so, whatever. I didn't feel any of that. It was just like, wow, here you are. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making the effort. It's so great to see you. And it was just so hard. It was just. I left there with a
loving experience, evidently, and that's
it was.
That is awesome. We just have that every day of our lives. That it is amazing. And when I think back to all the reunions I have been to, it has been just like that. Very loving, very special. A lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, and a lot of maybe reacquainting with people and discovering how they've changed over time, and it's it can be a very, very beautiful thing. It really, really can. And I'm glad you had such a great experience.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you allowing I always tend to wander and find things that really make my heart sing. And so I appreciate you always being willing to play in that realm, Michael. It's just absolutely fantastic.
We all experience it, and I'm sure our listeners experience it as well. I mean, it's something you talked about today that we can all resonate with. Everybody can, and that's the beauty of it. And that's what I love about the show is that I hope in my view, we're talking about things I know I resonate with, you resonate with, and that our audience here on PR and FM resonates with as well. So I love it. If you like this show, by the way, if you like this episode or any of the episodes, I should tell our listeners, we do make the Connect to Love podcast out of this show, and I think we have now about 80-something episodes, which is very nice that you can guide people to. You can go back and listen to yourself. It's phenomenal. We've had some really awesome guests on, and we will continue to have amazing guests. And if you like what you hear, share it with somebody. Please share it. We're looking to build our audience, and this is definitely organically the way that we want to do it. Share it with somebody who's just like you, because we all hang around with people that are like us. That's what we do. We attract people who are just like us. And if you're listening to this, there's more people that you know that would like to either listen to the radio show or listen to the podcast. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. I mean, you have such an eloquent way of putting words together, Michael, and really help my understanding of connection and really unconditional love, because it's the way that we are meant to be. It's an unlimited way of being, and that's how we become whole and complete in every moment. And I really am so grateful to each one of our listeners who take the time and make the time to listen to us and give us a little bit of feedback, because we are truly connected by love, and the infinite possibilities that await us are even beyond what we perceive or even can imagine sometimes. And that's really where the magic is.
It is. That's all the magic. That's what makes more magic.
It does. It does. Most definitely. But I know. And each week it's so much fun because we never know what we're going to talk about. This was kind of bubbling in my consciousness, though, about union and reunion and why that gathering together is so important. And you do the same, too, Michael, when you travel. You bring people together, and then you come back, you're like, wow, this was so much fun. Let's get back together.
Yeah.
And I think that's
the goal. The goal is to go anywhere in the world, meet people, and then meet those people again a year or two or three or whatever later.
Right.
That is the goal. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and not only that, I mean, your yearly crab event. How did that go, by the way?
It's on Sunday.
Oh, it is.
This Sunday, the annual crab feed, where we all stand around and crack snow crab and laugh and joke and have a good time meeting new people. There's always somebody new. I got a new couple coming this time around as well, and it's always fun. It is a blast for 4 hours of hanging out, and it's very simple. It's very informal. We cover everything in paper, and we put shells. Shells just go everywhere, and then when we get done, we just ball up the paper we put all over everything and put it in a big plastic bag, and the trash gets picked up on Thursday, we take it out to the barn. I don't want that being around my trash for a while, but we take it out to the barn and throw it away. But everybody loves it. Everybody loves it, and I wish we could invite 20 more people. We'd need a much bigger venue to do it. I can tell you though, and even we're gonna have I think we're 20 people this time. We've never gone through a 30-pound box of crab. Never. We always have crab left. We have homemade potato salad and these wonderful Brazilian beans that get made by a gentleman at Sandy's restaurant, and we keep it simple. Tell people if they want to bring wine or dessert, knock yourself out. But we just have a really wonderful time. Everybody laughs, everybody jokes, everybody gets to meet somebody new. And even a friend of mine who's a chef here in town, he comes. And his comment to me was, even if I were dead, I'd come back from the dead to come to this event.
That's right.
It's the one event he looks forward to every year. And we have it on Sunday because he never works on Sundays, right? So, and some other people, too, don't work. They're in restaurant business. They don't work on Sundays. So we get to invite some other people. And we have a great time. Listen, I wish I could do it once a month. I don't think Sandy's restaurant would like it, but it would be nice to do something like that. We do get together and do other potluck events with people, which is really wonderful. And everybody brings a dish, and everybody brings a bottle of wine, and we all hang out, and we all talk about it, and we all talk about what we're doing lately and where we're going and what's happening, and it's fun. That's the joy of it. And everybody I'm talking about who's coming has either been met. They either live on the street or we've met them in bars and restaurants.
Fantastic.
Every one of them. And we've just carried on relationships and meet with them, and sometimes we play golf with them, and it's fun. And that's, to me, the way life needs to unfold. It's just to keep having fun and keep meeting new people. I can't invite all the new people that I know. I mean, I'd have to have a second event just for those people. So we kind of rotate some people in and out, add when we can, but we have fun. And thank you for asking.
Oh, that's so nice.
I'll let you know next week.
That's great. Yeah, no, please. It's that union, it's that shared experience of happiness and joy. And I wish that for each one of our listeners and to all the people that came to the reunion and all those that couldn't, I give you my love and wish you all the best always, and our audience the same. Shine your light, and really, this life is a gift, and every day you just have to embrace that moment, just like Dr. Seuss says.
Embrace the journey.
A memory. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say one last thing. There are a lot of things going on.
Yeah, please close out the show. I would love for you to close it.
One thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be with reunion, but for those people who feel things are going on in the world and are going the wrong way, something I did today, and it's something you might want to do. I literally, during my walk, I stopped, I closed my eyes, and I just imagined an entire blanket of white light over the areas and the regions of the world that were having conflict, like a blanket, just a big blanket. I know it's just me, hey, but that's the way that I deal with this. I know I don't have any control over anything, so I'm controlling what I can do. And what I can do is I can blanket the region in a light of love and of joy and of kindness and of peace and of, compassion and empathy. This is what we have to have in this world in order to survive. We're not going to force other people to think like us. It's not going to happen, and that's not our job. Our job is to be loving. So that's what I would suggest our listeners do. If you're in the mix of things or you know somebody, really all you can do is share some love. Send love to everywhere. All right?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you all. Until we meet again, have a great day.